Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to December's episode of our market update, where we look back to last month, which would be November, for those of you that are a little calendar.
Yeah, I mean, in the holidays, I kind of forget where we are. What day is it?
We look back at November's numbers, month over month, year over year, to kind of let you know where the market's going.
Yes.
And then, of course, at the end, we'll give you our banter on where we think things are going.
Oh, and trust me, there's great news in the housing market and industry, and we're going to save that little bit of tidbit for the end of this, so make sure you tune in and don't keep scrolling.
Absolutely. So, Scott, where are we units sold wise?
It's pretty depressing, from a numbers guy perspective. Just under 1,500 homes, actually a little bit way under. 1,435 single family residences sold in the month of November, which is a dip from last month of about 5.7% and a super dip from,
last year, yeah.
Last year was 5.7%, and last month it's actually down over 15%. So we are seeing a huge slowdown in actually closed transactions, but don't freak out, anybody. I mean, this is every November. This is every December. I mean, I guarantee you next month, it's also going to be down and down, because every November, December, January, that's typically a 1 quarter trend of downward closed sales. Not everybody wants to pick up and move while they're trying to decorate and celebrate holidays. So that is a huge factor that you definitely want to consider when you're looking at these numbers.
But when we're looking at sales, now we look at sales price, the median price of that. We're actually up in both aspects of month over month and year over year.
Yeah.
So we had a median sales price about $450,000.
$450.
So year over year, that's 4.4% increase.
That equates to about 20 grand.
It does.
$20,000 in equity in a 1 year span in a down market that everybody's freaking out about with 8% interest rates.
That crash, yeah. So, I mean, if you're making that in a bad market, when this train gets back on the tracks and it gets...
So I got in the title industry back in 2015, to date me a little bit, 8.5 years ago, and I was preaching, like, you made 20 grand sleeping in your house for the whole year. That is awesome. What the heck? I just fell asleep, paid my bills, and the next year I was up $20,000 more in net,
and
worth.
For those interest rate
that
hawks,
is awesome.
That's making 20 grand, not throwing away 20 grand in rent.
Exactly, and that's also the factor there. So it's basically like that 4.4%, that 20 grand that we're talking about is almost supplementing said mortgage payment, very close to it,
Absolutely.
So give it over time and it keeps amortizing, and that equity keeps growing, and that's why we love buying and selling real estate.
So month over month's not as great. It's 0.2%, but
the arrow goes up.
The arrow goes up, and that's what we like to look at.
No problem there. Love it.
So we know we've had an inventory problem. We've had an interest rate problem. What are we doing with our inventory right now?
So new listings. So these are homes that hit the market for the first time in the month of November. And honestly, it's down 6.1%. It's been down pretty much every month for the past 12 months, if not 18 months. That's the whole, problem that everybody keeps talking about with real estate, that there isn't enough inventory, and there's a terminology out there that I keep reading about, keep listening to, because I do listen to podcasts a lot. And if you do,
Poor Properties.
Properties, a great one to tune into. But with that said, is that, inventory is low across the board, across the U.S. This is a nationwide issue, and it's really not going to change. So you're going to start hearing the concept of reverse crash, reverse market crash. You're going to hear that concept out there, and honestly, it's a crazy concept, because you're like, wait, how's the market crashing if values go up?
Correct.
That's due to inventory being super constrained and just not out there.
And this is also another thing of the November, December, January. Not only do we see a decline in sales, but we also see a decline in listings anyways. We actually see more of a dramatic decline in listings, because generally people don't want to pack up and sell their homes after they just decorated for the holidays.
Oh man, I would get more money for my house. I love decorating for Christmas. So
that's another thing you got to kind of take in these numbers, that it's going to be a decrease. So new listings, what was 1969, which is down about % year over year, and then down 15.6% month over month, which is expected for an October to November type numbers.
And if you paid attention a little bit to what we said, so units sold was down month over month 15.5%. Number of new listings that hit the market was also down 15.5%. A little correlation there. Just like I feel like people are not comfortable, but the market is what it is right now. And there's still opportunities. This is the have to situation. If you're buying and selling homes in November, December, and January, it's because you really want it or have to.
Yeah. Death, divorce, degrees, dependents.
Basically it, right? Job, I guess, would be the last thing.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, it wasn't a
degree.
D.
That's it.
Oh, okay. All right. So it wasn't a D. I was like, oh, yeah.
Degree. You're promoting or something like that.
All right. I like it.
So
I like it.
When homes are listed in the market, obviously they tend to list a little above the median sales price, just to see if they can test the market.
Going for it.
And like we said, 4.4% over year is about 20 grand. So people are always just assuming that we're getting that increase.
Loving that.
So our median price to hit market is $475,000. It's up year over year, up month over month. Nothing really to write home about though.
Yeah, exactly. Like 3.3% is what it's up from last year at this point, but closed sales was up 4.4%. So, what they price it at and what that realtor might be promising you at might not be that end goal. And that's where having a local realtor that actually knows what the heck's going on in a market like Beau can really help you when actually listing your house for the right
price.
Right price, because guess what? If you don't sell it that month, there's another mortgage payment you have to pay.
Yep.
So that would be, money's lost in a certain aspect. So, always things to keep in mind. And I feel like a lot of consumers maybe don't think down that train like we do. So we like to bring up these points.
Absolutely. So units available, we're about 4,353, depending on when they pulled this data to be exact. But this is where we're really seeing the down. Year over year, we are down 40.7%. But month over month, only 3.3.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
But year over year, that's crazy. And so that's when Scott was talking about that reverse crash, to where people, and we're talking about this real quick at the end with the interest rates, what they're doing, as people get a little more comfortable and prepared, people are going to be willing to pay that a little bit more to get in that house, to secure their spot before those interest rates drop even further, when then it's a true COVID rush like I think we're going to have when we'll discuss at the point where I think we're going to get it.
Certainly. I would agree with that assumption, for sure. And then the last stat that we want to hit before we jump into the golden nugget that we want to give you guys is availability. So availability, and when he's saying that, more properties might hit the market, well, if everybody's staying in Vegas and you sell a home, you're going to buy a home. So is that increasing inventory necessarily? I personally don't think it is, and that's where we're going to still see this inventory crunch. So if you're a property manager, somebody that owns assets here in Vegas, and you're not happy with maybe those tenants and getting a little bit of headaches dealing with that, this is a great time to look into maybe cashing out a few of those, 1031 exchanging those into more opportunities maybe here in Vegas or elsewhere.
Sure.
Yeah, and reaching out to Beau would be a great idea for you.
So, all great news. We'll do a year-end recap when the numbers come out for December. That'll be a much longer episode, but I'm just going to give you what I think my golden nugget is for where we're going in 2024. We're about 7.04% national average for a 30-year. We just looked it up right before we hit this film.
Which is down about a half a point from just a few days ago.
Yeah, exactly. And by the time this actually gets out there, it's probably going to be under 7. My personal opinion is when we get to 6 3/4, that's when the spigot's going to turn on. If we get to 6 1/4, there's no rules anymore.
And if there's any 5 in front of that number, I mean, it dominoes effect. I really do believe that. And that's where I think that reverse market crash, if we see those 5s or mid 5s, which they could be doing, that's going to really turn on the gas and light the fire for just the industry.
Start now.
Yeah.
There's always
if you're on that fence and you're teetering, just jump, because there's a refinance option probably coming. And what we wanted to talk on.
The horrible saying of date your rate, marry your house.
That is very true. It made no sense for 18 months, but Jerome Powell and the Feds did just announce, and this is that nugget that we've been referring to a little bit softly throughout this message here, and that's it. They're going to lower interest rates next year.
They are.
They feel satisfied with where the market is and what's happening in the economy, and they have announced that they are going to lower interest rates at least 4 times in the year 2024, which, if my memory serves me correctly, it doesn't always do that, but if it does, I want to say last year this time, they were saying they were going to raise it maybe 4 times. How many times did they raise it?
Every Fed meeting except for the last 2, I believe.
So like 7 or 8 times? So just because they say it's at least 4 doesn't mean it's only going to be 4. There's actually a 90% chance of them lowering your rates prior to the May 1st meeting that everybody's going to be looking forward to.
And everyone remember that the Fed rates and the mortgage rate, they are aligned in a way, but they're also not. So it's based on the bond market. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the bond market does with that information. and that's probably why we're seeing these decreases already when we haven't had a decrease yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, and check out the stock market as well. I mean, there's been a huge increase of values there as well. I mean, I want to say 600 points over the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, weird how that timed up with Jerome Powell and what the Feds were saying. So, hey, get ready, people. I think it's going to be a fun, wild ride, and there's a ton of equity and a ton of money to be made in real estate, but typically Las Vegas and Henderson.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, this city's growing, this city's on fire.
We're not losing people. We're gaining people, and the builders have slowed building, so it's going to be a mad rush like it was again. So.
Facts.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this market update. We look forward to the next one. And like I said, if you haven't checked out our podcast, we do those nuggets the entire time while enjoying some Vegas's best beer.
Oh yeah, beer. I mean, we're trying to get into a little bit other things, but it feels like Vegas is really only beering things at the moment. But we'll mix in some whiskey at the Christmas one. So please join us. Next podcast, we're actually going to be talking about all the Christmas activities for you and your family to enjoy, because Vegas, we love entertaining. There's a ton of stuff to enjoy during the holiday season.
All right, thanks so much, guys. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.